Habits that lead to success.
Take effing action, put it together, and subscribe to Tom Penn's channel on YouTube now. Yeah, I like it. It's crazy.
Everyone wants success, but it's your habits that will determine whether you are successful or not. Every decision that you make, every small action that you take will decide the outcome, will decide who you are. So in this video, I want to talk about the small decisions that you make every day and the small actions that you take every day. And those actions and decisions will transform your life. So I want to talk about 4 things that will influence you to have good habits. It will influence you to make good decisions and influence you to take the right actions. So number 1, you need to set specific goals. So in my other video, we talk about how to set big goals and achieve them. You can find that in my channel. And I want to give a quick summary here as well. So when you set a goal, you have to be very, very specific. So for example, I want to go to the gym, right? That is not a sufficient goal. Or, if you just say to yourself, I want to lose weight, that is not a sufficient goal. A clear, specific goal is something like this. I will go to the gym every day from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. I will exercise 1 hour a day, right? When you set a goal this specific, it's more likely to happen because you actually allocate time in your calendar. You know that from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, you're gonna be in the gym, exercising to lose weight, right? You have to be very, very specific. When you set very specific goals, it will influence your action and your decision. Every day at 8 o'clock, you know what you have to do, right? Influences your decision and influences your action. So a goal cannot just be about your feelings. I feel like doing this. I feel like doing that. I feel like losing weight. I feel like learning the guitar. I feel like learning the piano. I feel like, starting a business. It cannot be a feeling. So when you set a goal, it's not a feeling. It has to be very, very specific. You have to put date, time, duration, how much you're gonna do it. You have to put that into your goal. For more information about goal setting, see my other video. Number 2, I want to talk about environment. The environment will ultimately influence your habits and your decision making as well. So I want you to consider this. What is the first thing that you see when you wake up? What is the first thing that you see when you come home? I don't believe in feng shui. I know a lot of people do. But in some ways, I also believe environment can change you. The environment is important to what action you take. So for example, you get off work, you go home, you open the door, the first thing you see is a nice big TV and a couch. What do you think your decision and your action will be? Most likely is you're gonna sit on that couch, you're gonna turn on the TV, and you're gonna watch TV for 3 hours, right? So what we see in our environment will ultimately influence our decision and our action. So I want you to look around your environment, right? What can you change, right? If you want to watch less TV, what can you do? Maybe, get rid of it, right? If you want to exercise more, would it make sense for you to put, say, an exercise bike in your living room? You'll see it every day. Then you'll be more likely to get on it and exercise. If you want to learn how to play the guitar, right? Will it make sense to put a guitar somewhere you can see? Like maybe when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you see is the guitar. It is a constant reminder that you need to practice the guitar. So the environment is really important to your habits and your decision making. And I also want you to imagine if you live in a house or an apartment that's just full of junk. It's like trash everywhere, everything's misplaced, you cannot find anything. Do you think that kind of environment will breed success? Probably not, right? Because every time you wake up, you just see a big fucking mess, right? Your life is gonna be a big fucking mess because, that's what you see. And you will have a sense that you have no control over your life because everything's in a fucking state of mess, right? When you wake up, when you come home, when you see a very clean home, when you see everything's very organized, your life will also be very organized. See, when I go into an employee's home or when I go into a friend's home, that tells me a lot about that person. If I see a very organized, clean home, I can tell that person is probably very organized in life. And if I see like everything is a huge mess, then that person probably cannot organize time, cannot organize anything. Number 3, take fucking action, right? This is what this channel is about. Take fucking action. Your habits, your decision-making ability are useless if you don't take fucking action. And I want to go a little bit deeper on the taking fucking action part, right? So when we say take fucking action, we're talking about repetition, right? Meaning we do the same thing again and again and again and again and again, right? You do not gain mastery of anything without repetition. If you want to be a great guitar player, you gotta play the guitar hours a day. If you want to be a great football player, you gotta play football every day. If you want to be a great business person, then you have to go into the office and work your business every day, right? If you want to be a great computer programmer, that means you have to code every day, right? Repetition is what makes us experts, right? You may have heard of stories of people joining the Shaolin monk school of martial arts, right? So in the first year, in the second year, in the third year, all they do is they just do the punch. They just teach them how to punch. That's all they do, right? They don't teach them, you know, how to do all the fancy moves. They just make sure they, you know, squat and punch, right? Because the reason for that is they want their students to master that single movement and become an expert at that one movement before they move on to the next one, right? If you don't have the right foundations, then you really cannot go up a level. You can't do the drunk monkey kung fu move if you don't master the punch, right? Everything starts with the fundamentals. And I see that a lot of people, you know, they again, like they want instant gratification, they want instant success, so they forget the fundamentals. They don't want to learn the punch, and immediately they want to do the, you know, the crane style drop kick or whatever, right? And it never works out because you don't have the fundamentals to do the more difficult moves, right? It's the same in business, it's the same with learning the instrument, right? You cannot play Tchaikovsky's masterpiece if you don't even know how to hold the violin, right? So you must master the fundamentals, and the only way you can master the fundamentals is through repetition. Repetition is what makes you an expert, right? Let's use me as an example, right? Do you know how hard it is to actually put the suit on and make videos for you every day? It's difficult. It takes a lot of discipline, all right? I have to think about what I have to say in front of the camera. I have to put the suit on. I have to set up the camera. Now I have like 2 different cameras. But as you can see, if you go back in time, if you compare the videos from say a month ago and videos now, right? You'll see that the quality of production has gone up dramatically, right? My first video was complete shit, I have to admit, right? Because we do this in repetition, we just keep on doing it. We make one video after another, after another, after another, after another. So we get better at it and better at it and better at it. And eventually you're gonna see Hollywood cinematic you know, videos coming from the Tom Pang YouTube channel because we're gonna get better at it, right? It's the same in any field. If you're a copywriter, you know, the only way you get better is by writing. So you write one article after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, and eventually, given time and enough repetitions, you're gonna be an expert copywriter, right? If you're a salesperson, you know, again, repetition. You have to call one potential customer after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. The only way to become a great salesperson is by talking to potential customers, talking to people repetitively. There is no shortcut. That's the only way you gain mastery. So the hardest part about doing repetition is starting the repetition. The hardest part for me to do these YouTube videos is for me to actually set up the camera, sit down and start talking, right? the actually doing part is not hard. Writing an article is not hard. Doing a video is not hard. Playing the guitar is not hard. The hardest part is always that initial decision to do it, right? You just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm gonna play the guitar. And then you get up and you play the guitar, right? Once you start doing it, it's easy. You just start doing it. But the hardest part is always that initial decision to do it. Every day you're doing this in repetition. Every day, maybe at 8 o'clock, you have to go to the gym, and you have to go to the gym. That is the hardest part, because most people, when it comes to 8 o'clock, maybe today I'll take today off. Or maybe a copywriter, maybe today I don't want to write an article. Maybe I'll write 2 tomorrow. And then tomorrow you have to write 3 the next day, right? So it's like you always push off these things. That's why you cannot gain mastery, because you're not doing repetitions. So I want you to focus more on, every day starting your repetition, and not so much on the end goal. The end goal might be to lose 30 pounds or 30 kilograms. The end goal might be mastering guitar playing. The end goal might be become a world-class, novel writer, whatever it is, right? Those goals are really far away. You need to focus on what needs to happen every day rather than what you want to happen in 5 years. So number 4, what will influence your action-taking ability and also your decision-making is reward. I like to reward myself for accomplishing certain things. For example, I said to myself, I talk to myself, right? If I get 100 subscribers with this YouTube channel, I'm gonna buy myself a Yamaha R1, all right? And it turns out that it was too easy. Like, we got 100 very, very quickly. So I did not do it yet. So I basically pushed out the reward out, so that now the new KPI for me is 10,000 subscribers to get the Yamaha R1, and I'll put that on YouTube. And for you, I also want you to think about how you reward yourself for accomplishing your goals. Again, I want you to take your goal, break it down into small milestones, and every time you hit a milestone, how are you going to reward yourself? Because good habits are hard to do, and usually because the reward comes later. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say you want to lose weight, right? So you have to do all those things, stop eating, exercise, and maybe in 3 months you'll see some results. So I would encourage you to figure out how to reward yourself for the small milestones that you make. Otherwise, it becomes somewhat difficult, and you may even give up along the way. And bad habits generally gives you instant gratification, right? So with bad habits, generally you get the reward fast, and then you pay for it later. I'll give you an example. Let's say you like to eat a lot of dessert, sweets, right? So when you eat the dessert, the sweets, you get instant gratification. You feel good, it's sweet, you feel your body feels fulfilled, but you pay for it later because 3 months later you're fat, right? Or you go home, you sit down, you watch YouTube, you play with Facebook, because you get instant gratification when you watch YouTube. Your brain is getting pleasure from that, but you pay for it by not achieving anything significant in your life, right? So bad habits generally give you reward fast, but you pay for it later. Okay? So you have to be able to identify what is good habit, what is bad habit. Good habits generally reward you much later, right? You have to do all this hard work to get the reward later. Bad habits generally, they give you instant gratification. Like, you get the reward now, but you will pay for it later. So in summary, 4 things about how you can influence your habits, your action-taking ability. 1 is make sure you set very specific goals. The more specific your goals are, the more likely you're going to do them. Number 2, look at your environment, right? If your environment is shit, your result is probably going to be shit. Fix your environment. Figure out what you see when you wake up. Figure out what you see when you get home. Like, the first thing that you see when you get home will probably influence your decision-making ability and your action-taking ability. Number 3 is always take fucking action. And when you take fucking action, you have to remember it's about the repetitions. You have to do the same thing again and again and again and again to get better and better and better before you can go on and gain mastery of what you're trying to do. The hardest part is always about starting that repetition every day. Picking up the guitar, start writing the article. Those are the hardest part, but you have to do them in order to be successful or have good habits or take the right actions. And finally, number 4, figure out how to reward yourself, because good habits reward you later, bad habits reward you now. So you have to game the system so that you reward yourself somehow when you hit these little milestones, because you're doing something hard. You're building good habits, but you want to reward yourself sooner than later so that you keep on doing it. And lastly, what I want to say is that you are what action you take. You're not a guitar player if you don't pick up the guitar and play every day. If you only play the guitar once a month, you're not a guitar player. You cannot honestly tell people you're a guitar player, right? You cannot tell people you're a football player if you only play football once a month. You cannot say you're a business person, you're an entrepreneur if you don't go to work, right? An entrepreneur, a business person goes to work every day. They work harder than anybody else. Otherwise, you can't call yourself that. You are what action you take consistently and non-stop. So who do you want to be? Don't be a fucktard and take fucking action.